Welcome everyone to another Maine SBDC webinar. My name is Kelsey Reardon and I'm with the state office hosted by USM right in Portland. And today we have our very special, our marketing specialist, Corey Zimmerman from the WanderWeb will be hosting today's webinar as we go over SEO for your DIY website. So we're all learning a lot about SEO, myself included. I was telling Corey, I get so much out of these. So when you guys are searching, how do I start a small business in Maine? And our website pops up, it's probably because of something Corey taught me. So you guys will have a great introduction. If you are not familiar with the Maine SBDC, we are the Small Business Development Centers, and we provide confidential, no-cost, one-on-one business advising. So we are a federally funded program. Your tax dollars go towards our programming, so you should be utilizing all of the resources available to you. And our webinars are just one way that we do that. Our business advisors are the main way that we do that. And so if you are not already set up with a business advisor, we highly recommend it. There's a big orange button on our website that says request advising, and that is the fastest way to get into our system. But a link to that will be included in my follow-up email. So you don't need to go hunting for anything right now. You should keep an eye out for my follow-up email though, because it will include all of our contact information as well as the slides and a link to the recording. So Corey has already prefaced, this is going to be a lot of information. If you feel overwhelmed, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all being recorded and you will get the slides. So there'll be all of the resources will be clickable and you'll have access to all of it afterwards to go back, rewind, speed it up or slow it down as needed. So we try and record all of our sessions and then we add those to our YouTube channel. So if there are other topics that you're looking to learn about, they might be on there. Corey's been doing a lot of really great webinars, marketing focused webinars over the last few years, and those are all on our YouTube channel. I suggest you go check those out. If you have any questions along the way, go ahead and put them in the chat below. We'll definitely have time at the end to answer any questions if we don't hit them along the way. But maybe also let us know who you are and where in the state you are and what web platform are you using, or something about your website, maybe something you're struggling with. We'd love to know what brought you here today, and hopefully we can answer all your questions. So otherwise, I think we're all ready to get started. So Corey just stuck her contact information in the chat, so you guys can all go ahead and respond to hers with yours, and we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll pass it over to Corey.
Morning, everybody. My name is Corey Daigle. I live in Bangor and have a web design and SEO, search engine optimization agency. My background is primarily prior to starting my business, I worked in healthcare process improvement, systems, and analytics. I am a certified process improvement specialist, certified in Lean, Six Sigma, as well as some other things. But really, my love is systems and operations and making things work together. So at WanderWeb, the business, my business, we help businesses grow with digital assets. Today, we're going to talk about search engine optimization. And what I would like to bring up that there's going to, like Kelsey said, there's going to be a ton of content that we're covering today. This is a checklist type presentation. And so as we go through each of the items, I will touch on them and the logic within which you can apply it to your business. There are blogs that we've written at WanderWeb for each topic that when Kelsey sends out the summary, she will also include the slides which have the links to each blog that covers each of the topics in this. So, you know, if you miss something or you don't understand it, because we're going to go through all kinds of different aspects of search engine optimization today, just realize that you can step back, just listen and take it in and know that you'll have some resources provided to you in addition to the recording after the presentation. I think SEO is fascinating. I could talk about it all day long. I will try not to, because I have literally put my in-laws to sleep while discussing search engine optimization. I mean, I looked over and they were straight up big bird in it. They were out, but I was thinking it was absolutely fascinating. So please, if you need coffee, grab it now. I see some familiar faces and I'm so excited that you're here too. All right. So what is search engine optimization? Let me just go back one slide, actually. So search engine optimization in very simple terms is, or SEO, is how you get found online, how you optimize your online presence so that you get found by the people that are looking for you. Typically by your customers, by your ideal customers, right? Typically when I discuss search engine optimization, I almost exclusively refer to Google, primarily because Google is where most people search for content. There are some other search engines like Bing and Yahoo, Firefox. There's a few, Mozilla, there's a few others, but really we talk about Google primarily because I'm a big proponent of the 80-20 rule. So I like to put a little bit of effort in for a lot of results. And so Google is where it's at. So there are two types of search engine optimization. The first type is organic or on-page search engine optimization, meaning on your website search engine optimization, on your website pages. The other is paid search engine optimization, so ads and paid backlinks and things like that. Today we're going to discuss organic or on-page search engine optimization. It's free. So I always like to start with free resources and then worry about the paid things later. There are so many micro cuts that we have as entrepreneurs that we really do need to think about taking advantage of the free resources that are out there for us. So on-page search engine optimization, when it comes to your website and getting found, is important. All right, so how does search engine optimization work? When you create your website and all of your content online, Google, remember we're going to talk primarily about Google, searches each of those pages and reads them. Okay, so there's a bot that goes and eats all the words online, and they go from site to site and they collect information on all the places online about your business, as well as your competitor's business and every other thing that's on the internet, and put it all in a giant library. Okay, so each time Google searches, if you add content to your website, they add it to your library of content. And what happens is when someone searches for something in a search engine or on Google, right? Google goes through its index and thinks of all of the things that it's tracked, and it looks at about 200 metrics to measure whether they're going to give you a good grade or a bad grade, and decides if they're going to bring that content up for the user. So the SEO success factors depend on about 200 different metrics. And you can really get into that and start to look at optimizing the different metrics. But my advice is really think about your customer. And we're going to talk about that today, because the people that know their customers are the people that win at SEO. So SEO is crucial because it makes your website easier for Google to find and deliver to the right people, to the right customers. And if you've done it well, you'll convert your customers that have gone to your website into buyers. Okay. So let's talk about how we're going to do it. The most important thing that you need to know for anything regarding search engine optimization is your customer. So when I'm working with clients at WonderWeb or through SBDC as a specialty advisor, we start with, what are you trying to achieve in your business? So what's your business goal, right? And then who's your customer? Where do they shop? What do they like? What words do they use, right? So for example, at WonderWeb, we use a lot of humor in our websites and our content. Our customers like that. The people we want to work with have sort of a silly sense of humor, right? That's the right customer for us. They're also entrepreneurs. So we're delivering content that have to do with growing your business and scaling your business. We try to repel people that are just starting their business, because we succeed with people that are entrepreneurs that are in a place where they're ready to grow their business. They've already established themselves. They're usually about a couple years in. And so in addition to pulling the right customers in, our content on our website repels the wrong customers, right? So knowing your customer is really, really important. The words they use, the way they'll look for you, the images that they would like to see, the colors that appeal to them, the conversational style copywriting that will be interesting to them. And by the way, we do have a copywriting webinar coming up. Kelsey will be sending, maybe Kelsey, if you could include that link in the notes. Copywriting is probably one of the most important things you can learn as a business owner. It will save you a lot of money if you learn your customer and you learn how to talk to them, right? So writing your content, or copywriting with a W, not the circle with the C, is really important to you as a business owner. All right, so the first thing you need to know is your customer. And the next thing you need to know is the keywords that customers are going to use in order to find you, okay? So for example, if you are selling soap, right? And you use the word soap all over your website because that's what someone would type into a search engine. That's a good keyword, but it's very highly competitive, right? So who else are using the word soap? You're going to be competing against Dove. You're going to be competing against Procter & Gamble and all of those big companies that have the funds to target that word, right? And use that. So when you're using keywords, what I usually would recommend for small businesses is picking words that are more specific to your business, right? And so say you create, it's handmade soap that you use coconut milk in, right? And so your keywords that you're targeting might be coconut milk soap, or goat milk soap, or artisanal lavender soap, right? Those might be the keywords or phrases that you target. So, and use those phrases frequently throughout your website. Okay. We'll also talk about where you should put them, but picking the right words and getting into your customer's head about what they will be typing into this search engine, Google, in order to find the product or service that you provide is very important. Okay. That's also where the depth of content on your website comes in, simply because Google can cross-reference and the algorithm is able to link things together. So they can, in the Google algorithm, Google understands that artisanal soap and handmade soap are kind of the same thing. They belong together, right? So you don't have to use the term artisanal soap over and over and over on your website. You could use the term artisanal soap. You could use the term handmade soap. You could use the term, farmers market, and all of those words might work together in order to give a full picture of what you do to appeal to your customer who's looking for you. We'll go through some of these little tips and tricks at the end too, and I have some very specific suggestions on how to find really good keywords for what you do. Okay, and we'll actually maybe take one of your businesses and look for keywords related to your business. Okay, all right. So the next thing that I suggest for search engine optimization is optimize your hero message. And by hero message, you'll hear this referred to in the digital marketing world. Your hero message is that above the fold message on a newspaper, right? That's the most valuable place, is that above the fold. Like when the newspaper gets slapped down on your table, you see everything that is above the fold on that first page. Your hero message is that message that customers get when they land on your website, right? And what I see a lot is really cool slogans, really cool branded language. But what I don't see enough is a very clear message about what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for, right? So say you are a greenhousekeeper, right? Hi, I'm Corey, like right on the hero message, right on the top of your website. I'm Corey. I clean homes in Maine using organic products, right? And then your call to action or your button for people to hire you should be right there. Make it super easy for people to know what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it. All right. And if you can put a differentiator in, that is even more valuable. All right. So we're going to look at some good hero messages today too. At the end of this webinar too, there'll be a checklist of all of these items that you can go through and look at your website and go through and check and add the contents or the elements that we're talking about to make sure you have them on your website. All right, so hard and fast. Your headlines they've got to rock. People have to love them. They have to be intrigued by them. They have to be interested in them. Your headlines goal, the only goal of your headlines is to get people to read your website. Why is it important that people read your website? Google primarily looks at two components, okay? In addition to making sure your website is mobile optimized, because most people are looking on phones at websites now. So primarily we are designing mobile first these days, and then creating desktop designs based upon the mobile design, all right? The headlines, the only goal of your headline, the only goal of your hero message is to have people scroll down, right? Or click. The only goal of your headlines is to have people do an action, whether it's scroll down, go a little bit further into your website. But if your headlines aren't compelling and catchy, they're not going to get read, and people will abandon your website, right? I tell people you've got one click. Your customer is going to do one click, and that click might be your call to action or what you're asking them to do on your website, or it could be that little X up in the corner taking them off your website. They're going to do one of those two things, right? And so bringing them through, your customers through the journey and understanding where they are in the buyer journey along the way, getting in their head is so important. The entrepreneurs that know their customer are the ones that win in the end, okay? So understanding where your customers are in the journey and writing really compelling headlines. The other reason that headlines are important is Google identifies them as the most important things on your website. And so having your keywords or the words that your customers would search for in those headlines is incredibly important, okay? So your headlines have to be compelling and include keywords or the words that people will be searching for in order to find you. And we also have meta descriptions. All right, so let's talk about some of these things. A meta description is the description for each page on your website. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to I'm going to show you a few of these things, okay? Let's talk about one of your businesses. I see you've all dropped things in the chat. All right. All right, Kelly with Blue Earth Bags. Do you have a website? Yes, blueearthbags.com. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to type in Blue Earth Bags into the website, okay, into the search engine, okay? So we're using Google and we're searching for Blue Earth Bags. All right, so great job, Kelly. You've got your Google business page set up, which is important for search engine optimization. And Maine recycled bags and totes. So you've done a great job here. So when we talk about meta descriptions, This is the meta description. Okay, so Blue Earth Bags is a Maine company repurposing and recycling feed sacks, coffee bean sacks, etc. All right, into durable everyday use bags. Now, this is good. One thing that I will point out is, do you see that we've got this ellipsis here? Ideally, your meta description, the job of this meta description is to have people click into the website, right? It's a description of each page on your website. And so be thinking about the length of your page and get that content in the beginning to make people want to click into your website. Those are your meta descriptions. Each page of your website from your menu has its own opportunity for a meta description, okay? And if you look in the back end of your website, you'll be able to see where they ask you to put it. So if you're on Wix, there'll be a little SEO tab or Squarespace or whatever. Google does the same, or sorry, WordPress does the same thing. Okay, so let's talk about keywords. So we typed in Blue Earth Bags, right? So somebody might type that in, but let's see what else people are looking for in order to find Blue Earth Bags, right? So this is a tip that I like to use. There are lots of paid services that look for, that you can buy for search engine optimization keywords, right? But let's go with some low-hanging fruit that's free. So you've typed in Blue Earth Bags up here. It came up, so that's great. Great job on this. I did mention setting up a Google business page, Jan. Yeah, and we have a webinar on that I've presented that we'll make sure, Kelsey, if you could include that too in the summary. There'll be a lot of information in the summary. So I would suggest you keep it, paste it into a Trello board or some sort of Google Doc so that you can go back and refer to it. Okay, so down here we have Blue Earth related searches. Okay, so if you start off with your search engine up here and then scroll down to the bottom, you'll see what other people have typed in also looking for Blue Earth Bags. All right, so Blue Earth brand, Earth Bag House. And this is where you just sort of go down a bunny trail and start clicking, right? So click into Earth Bag House and see what comes up. And so see some of the words that they've used. All right, off grid. So this is not really necessarily linked to earth bags, from what I can tell initially. So I probably would abandon that and go back. But what are some of the other words that we'll see? Created bags and totes, recycled bags and totes. So we could use that. We're seeing that. All right, so type in recycled bags and totes. Now what you're going to see on your search engine is some ads, okay? So these are businesses that are paying to be at the top of Google, all right? So do you see where it says ad here? This is not organic traffic or on-page traffic. This is paid traffic, right? So the first page that comes up when you type in recycled bags and totes organically is this one, wired.com, the best bags of recycled materials. So you could look in here and maybe gather some intellectual ideas, or intellectual property from this, but it's not really exactly what you're looking for because we're looking for another website that sells these totes, right? So, all right, here's one, Tote Bag Factory, recycled cotton canvas bags. Okay, that's strong keywords, right? So you may want to consider using that in your content, all right? Eco bags, there's another keyword you could use, all right? Canvas tote bags, custom recycled tote bags. All right, so you're getting some good keywords from just using your common sense, right? And knowing what your customer is looking for. And then down here at the bottom, this is the gold, right? This stuff. Recycled bags, tote bags made from recycled billboards, or tote bags made from recycled materials. You could use, logic here. Eco-friendly tote bags, okay? So that's sort of how you do your keyword research. All right, there are many other ways you could pay someone to do keyword research, and some sites that I would recommend to do keyword research and have them, let me just bring this up here. to do keyword research are Fiverr, Fiverr. You could pay someone very little money, less than $50 to do your keyword research. Additionally, there's a tool, a site called Upwork.com. And those are places that you can go to as a business owner to get those resources to hire subcontractors to do that work for you. Okay. Okay. The next thing that you need to do in order to optimize your website is label your images, okay? And those are called alt tags, image tags. It's what you name your images, all right? The potential benefit for this is huge. So Google doesn't read images yet, okay? So the words that you use to label your images are important because Google doesn't scan images and assign content to them, okay? But when you're searching on Google, a lot of people will search Google images. And so if you have tags on your images, there's two benefits there. The first is for people that are visually impaired and the websites are being read to them, okay? There's a descriptor of the image that you've attached to your website. The second is attaching keywords or appropriate keywords to the image itself, okay? So if an image appears in a Google image search and someone clicks on it, they go to your website, right? And so it is a way to get customers to your website. And so I've picked this image in particular. This is an image from Story Silo Media. It's a headshot from a commercial headshot from Story Silo Media, our sister company at Wanderweb. And it's an image of, I call him Big Mike. He is a financial advisor for ClearPoint Capital. He owns a financial advisement firm. However, the reason I like this image is it can be used in 1,000 different ways. So this image is a headshot, but B, I could picture this being in a magazine, right? So let's think about, always go back to the goal of your website. So in this case, Mike is a financial advisor, and we want to label the image with content that matches Mike as a financial advisor, right? So I would say Mike, full name, right? Financial advisor, ClearPoint Capital, Maine, retirement planning, right? Okay, so those are some things that I could tag this image as, so that if someone was typing up for typing financial advisor in Maine under Google Images, this image would be very likely to come up, right? But let's think about if the goal of this website was not for a financial advisement firm. Let's think about if this was a commerce website selling suits, right? This could very well also be an image of a model wearing a suit for sale, right? Okay, so there's 1,000, or for eyeglasses, all right? So there's 1,000 other ways we could label this image, which is why it's important to go back to your goal. So this image, if this were a website that was selling suits, I would say blue suit, window pane suit, professional suit, striped tie. Those would be some of the things that I would say to tag this image. Does that make sense when you think about the goal of your website, reverse engineering where you're going for your tags for your images? Now, if it was just a generic photo, for Story Silo Media, Sarah, who owns that business, might tag this as commercial photography, headshot, man with glasses, professional headshots, right? So there's so many different ways that you could assign search engine optimization value to this particular photo. It's important to understand what the value is that you're trying to do for your website, because if you labeled this appropriately, you could label this man in suit, and someone clicked into the site and it was for a financial advisement firm. That's a bad click, right? So the person that gets to that site is immediately going to X out of it. And what Google's going to think is, oh darn, I sent someone to that website and they didn't want to go there. Okay, I'm not going to use that website to send people there again, right? So you get a little penalty, like a little ding, right? You get put in the penalty box for a few minutes on Google. All of those little things add up. Google's only goal is to keep you using Google. That's it, right? Facebook's only goal is to keep you on Facebook for as long as possible. That's it, right? Pinterest's only goal is to have you go to Pinterest and use it. So you really need to think about your customer, because the way Google, Pinterest, etc. measure things are, do people like the content that we sent them to? And how do they measure that? Did they click through and look at lots of the content on that page? Were they on that page for a period of time, right? And that's why it's so important to know your customer, because you're providing your customer with value and they'll stay on the page. And those are the things that organically, in the long game, increase your search engine optimization. You can game things all you want and get clicks, but they're not going to help you in your long game. Search engine optimization takes months to years, right? It's a really long game. So looking in the short term is probably not your most efficient way to think about search engine optimization. All right. So do you see how those meta descriptions that would lead them to the right site, the alt tags or the photo names on your website that would bring people to correctly to where you want them to be, using the right keywords in your content, they all lend to getting people that want to be on your website to your website. All of those things work together. So, it seemed, at first I'm labeling these random things, you need meta descriptions, you need alt tags, but do you see how they all sort of work together to give a whole picture of what your business is and deliver it to the right people? Okay. All right, cool. So with that in mind, is there any questions? Do we need to stop and have ask a couple questions at this point?
I just jumped in because could not get into the link, so I just got help getting in. So what did I miss?
This session is going to be recorded, Doris, and I would recommend that you go back because we have covered a bit, but I think you'll be able to catch up and as we move forward. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We did have Jennifer, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. So my website, I've got a basic website through Bluehost. I think I had someone set it up for me. And then I also have a Shopify website, and I have the Bluehost kind of has some content, but then the Shopify is where people actually purchase things from me.
Yep.
So if I'm optimizing things on my Bluehost website, does that help, or do I need to optimize both, or should I look into lumping it all into one website somehow?
Are they the same business?
Yes.
Okay. So typically, there's a couple things that you could do. My recommendation is generally to have everything on one website. However, what you can do is in your menu items, you can link the other pages so they both work together in tandem. So for example, you could have the Shopify site linked to a shop button, right, on the website. So your customer doesn't necessarily know they're going on to a different server. It makes it a little bit more complicated for Google to understand though. So best practice would be, in my recommendation, in my opinion, if Shopify is working for you for sales, I would put the content from your Bluehost website, I would reproduce it onto your Shopify website. That's without knowing a lot of information,
Okay.
but that based upon what you've said, that would probably be what I would recommend.
And is it possible to make, like, on Shopify, like other types of pages, like blog pages and
so Shopify, I'm a WordPress developer, so I
Okay.
know WordPress really well, but I have worked with Shopify a little bit, and you can purchase or use themes on Shopify that allow you to add content.
Okay.
Shopify is meant for commerce, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a big brand story, sometimes it's a little difficult to really design because it doesn't lend to the user experience of branding as much as it does commerce.
Right.
However, there are some ways that you can do it. And
I probably have to hire someone to do that.
Well, at WonderWeb, we
Little
do
bit.
user experience audits if you ever wanted something like that. Or you could sign up for a session with your SBDC advisor for some advice. Now, the specialty advisors like myself and Jenny, who's the social media advisor, we're done as of the end of September. It was a limited time that we worked with SBDC. However, the advisors did work with us and they were present for every session. So they did hear us talk about these things. So there are some advisors that probably could really help you, just having been exposed to marketing owning their own business, as well as working with us, with clients for the last 2 years.
Okay.
And then there are paid services as well. But I always recommend, as entrepreneurs, we start with everything that's free.
Right.
And exhaust those resources first, and you have that great resources with SBDC.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions that came through?
Kim had a question. She might have two questions, but her first question was, does my website rank better the longer it's on the web?
Mm-hmm.
So Kim, feel free to elaborate if that's the same question or if you had a different one.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had because, I have Blue Earth bags and you did a search on Blue Earth bags. And I would assume that it would come up because you Googled exactly the name of it.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, like, the longer the website is up, it's better for Google to kind of put all the things together. Then my other question was, we make totes and bags out of recycled coffee sacks, recycled grain sacks, and stuff like that. And for those keywords, do I need to repeat recycle, repurpose? Because is it taking like recycled coffee sacks as quote unquote that phrase? Or if I use recycled once, is that enough in my keywords?
Typically, I recommend that wherever it naturally would fall into your conversational writing, that you use your keywords. You don't want to stuff them or put them in excessively, because you'll get penalized for that. And the reason you'll get penalized for that is because when people read your content, it will sound unnatural, and so it won't appeal to them. They'll leave your website, right? So Google penalizes you for that.
No, I'm talking about the meta tags that you're putting on the pages, on the meta tags. Do I have to use the key phrase? Because I don't know if it goes by the phrase recycled coffee sacks, or if I can just use recycled as one word, coffee sacks is another word, grain sacks is another word, or do I have to use the whole phrase for it to make sense?
Google is smart enough to understand and cross-reference written content. Okay. So my recommendation is use the best descriptor that your customers will understand and want to shop with you.
Okay.
All right. As far as to answer your question, to go back to answer your question about duration of your website or longevity, that is one of the factors that Google looks at, but they do look at 200 different factors. Okay. And each one of them is at different importance during different phases. So for example, right now, mobile responsiveness and being designed well for mobile is very, very important, right? Because most people are searching on their phone devices, right? Or their mobile devices, where like 10 years ago, there might have been a different metric that they were really focusing on. But honestly, what they're focusing on is what the customer does. And so my recommendation around that, around duration, all of it is, and we'll get to this, is look at your analytics. Look at your Google Analytics and see what pages people are going to, and making sure those pages put all your resources, all your best stuff on those pages, right? And over time, that is one of the factors, but honestly, there are so many factors. And so the reason there's 200, like I said, so the reason that I say appeal to your customer is because that's what's going to help you in the long game. So if you really think about your customer and you know your customer uses mobile phones, right, to look you up, then you're going to design for a mobile phone. It doesn't matter what Google's algorithm says, right? If you know what words they're going to search for and you use those words, and your customer wants those words or is searching for those words, it doesn't matter what the algorithm is saying, because over the long game, you've done all of the right things to appeal to your customer.
Right. And my Wix analytics says that over 75% of my people on my website are using their phone.
Yes, so
So-
make sure that your website is perfect on a phone, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I would suggest is look at your pages and how long and the duration on your website. That's really important as well.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
One last question just during this section. Joanna asked, should I update my headlines or business description with seasonal keywords?
Boy, I would really need to know. I would really need to know a little bit more to give a specific recommendation. And I don't think we have time to dig into that
Okay.
one today. But I do have a free 15-minute consultation that you can sign up for with WonderWeb to pick my brain. Okay. And if you
Alright.
just go to our website, you'll be able to sign up for a consultation.
There we go.
Okay. So the next thing we'll talk about, and this is Kelly, our content director at WonderWeb. She's the one who writes a lot of our blogs and content now. User experience. So we talked about understanding your customer, and the experience that your user has is really important, right? And we've talked about that throughout all of this. Are you delivering content that your user wants? Is it easy for them to do what you want them to do for your website? Is it clear what you do on your website? Is it, if you want them to shop, are shop buttons very visibly available so they know that that's what they're there to do, right? So consider the user experience and where they are in their journey throughout your website. Part of user experience is keeping things simple, okay? And one thing that I see with DIY website designers or what DIY websites is the content is squished together, right? You're trying to get as much content in a small space as possible. Keep in mind that we look at computers all day long. Every day now we're looking at screens. And so white space and leading the eye and making it really easy to see the things that you want them to do is incredibly important. Keep it simple. It's sort of like when you're selling your house, you take all your clutter away. You need to do that with your website too. Take all the clutter away, get rid of the clutter, right? Make your content skimmable and leave space for the eye to rest, okay? Our eyes get tired. We have eye fatigue, and eye mapping is something that a good web designer focuses on very intensely when they're designing a website. Where does the eye fall? Where should I put those buttons that someone would naturally see it? Okay, so keep it simple. Nobody cares about anything but what you can do for them, all right? So everything should be through the lens of your customer. It's not about you, it's about your customer, and make it easy for them to do what you need them to do. Make it easy for them to do what they want to do. And by that is be clear about what you expect customers to do. Have a clear call to action. Please do not assume that people coming to your site know what you want them to do. Tell them, shop now, click here to buy, right? Schedule a free consultation. Those are your calls to action. Each page has one. You can have one call to action per page. If you've got 2 calls to action, you have too many because you only get 1 click. So choose that click wisely. What do you want them to do with it? So whether it's submitting a form, entering their email address so that you can reach out with email marketing, learning more, or buying, make it super clear. Make those buttons stand out, okay? Make them noticeable with commanding language that leads to them. All right. That is another thing that I see as a big opportunity with DIY websites is buttons. Make them clear, make them stand out, and put one on every big scroll. And what I mean by that is, you know how you scroll down a website? Pretty much every time you do a big scroll, there should be some sort of call to action button there that someone can click on. So they don't need to go searching. Make it easy for them, okay? And we did talk about looking at your analytics. Hold on here. I just clicked a bad button on my website here on my page. So look at your analytics. Understanding what people are doing on your website and then optimizing the right things is incredibly important. Trial and error. You're not going to get things perfect every time. One of the things we do at WonderWeb is we stay with our customers, our businesses for the long game, because if you create a one and done website, then you can't really look at what worked and what didn't and then continue to optimize it. All right. So look at where people are landing, how long they're staying on your website. Like Kim said, are most of the people looking at your website on a mobile device? Are they on a desktop? Are they elderly? Do you need to increase the size of the font, right? To make it easier for them to read? Are people abandoning a specific page all the time? What do you need to do to make that up, right? So today we talked about a ton of stuff, right? Here's a checklist of all of the things we talked about that Kelsey's going to give out. All right. But one of the things that I do want to do is show you some good user experience examples for websites. Okay. So there's a website that I like to show, Whitney Wreath. Whitney Wreath is a company in Machias, Maine that provides seasonal wreaths. Okay. So when you come to this website, you immediately see that they are a balsam wreath company and that we want you to shop. All right. There's no questions here. All right. And did you notice that this main headline on the page, Maine balsam wreaths, those are keywords, right? And there's some pitches here about what you get. All right. So this is what, when I talked about a hero image or a hero section of a website, it's really clear what this website is for and what you need to do. Okay. Do you see how there's lots of white space on this website? The goal of this page is to establish trust and authority and give that Maine cozy feel, seasonal feel, right? So that people will shop, all right, to lead to the shop, all right? So we talk about the family, right? And make it comfortable and cozy and that sense of nostalgia, because people are buying with feelings for this. These wreaths are more expensive than your average wreath, right? So leading into that, and then a really good opportunity to shop their products. All right. So lots of white space. We didn't squish things together. We've got great images of what the products are and good keywords. All right. Another example of good user experience is if you go to their story page, all right, which might take a bit because we're zooming today. So let's, all right, again, white space. And do you see how we've got the founder story, but it's skimmable. There's lots of white space. It's easy to read. All right. And we've really created a sense of nostalgia here. The goal of this page was to create a sense of nostalgia and trust and wanting to support this country or family-owned remote business, right? And then there's your keywords are also up here in your headline, for example, fundraisers, and then easy to buy. So those are some examples of really good user experience and using keywords. So for example, here, this is a subheadline. We've got the word wreaths in there. We put that in there. We just didn't say founder and CEO, right? We use the word wreaths, okay? You'll see these words throughout the website naturally. Beautiful, fragrant, free shipping, fresh Maine balsam wreaths, right? We could have just said from our family to yours, but we took this opportunity to naturally inject some keyword density, okay? This lends to the story. It's not, we're not saying buy, you know, wreath, wreath, wreath. We're leading into the story and using those keywords. Lots of white space, easy clickable buttons that take you to where you need to be, okay? So those are some examples of user experience. User experience is incredibly important. All right, so let me take you back to now. Is there any more questions? What other questions do you have to cover today?
Well, wonderful. I'm sure everyone has lots of questions now. But we did have a couple that came in. So Allison was asking, what do we mean by duration of pages?
The
What do you-
time that someone would spend on your website.
Yeah, and I was saying that's usually within the analytics. There's usually some sort of breakdown of like how long someone is spending.
Yes.
Um,
If you're going to look at two things on analytics, I would look at the number of people coming to your website and the duration that they're spending on it. There's all kinds of other things that you can look at, but overall, that will let you know that you're getting found and you've got the good content on it. If you've got those two metrics, they cover a lot of ground. They're sort of easy metrics to make sure that you're optimizing, and then dig into like the reason why people maybe aren't spending a long time on the website. That, there's all kinds of sub metrics that you could look at, but if you look at those two, the time on website and the number of people going to your website per month, those are your best metrics to start with. And then if there's a problem, then you can dig deeper.
Awesome. I don't see any other specific SEO questions in here. So if anyone has any, go ahead and stick them in there. I'll just take the time to thank Corey. As always, I was like taking my own notes. So we just updated the main SBDC site through USM to be fully ADA accessible, which we're really excited about, but it is going to require more participation from my standpoint to get things staying ADA accessible through that SEO. So I feel like I learned a bunch. Lots of people saying thank you. One question that just came in, are there any negative impacts of your hero image being a stock photo?
I'm going to say not really. If it appeals to your customer, then no.
Yeah, one of the things we've covered in a lot of different webinars is that idea of like, like a mediocre fake handshake can only get you so far with customers, but if it's matches your branding, it could be a great option.
If your customer likes it, then do what then use it. That's my advice, right? It's all about the customer. So if a customer wants to see an image of you, then have an image of you. I fought that one for a long time. You'll see I've got images of me on all of our assets. And I'll be honest, it's not my preference, right? I'm a web developer. I prefer to be in the background in a dark room coding, right? But that's not what I get to do. I have to really be out there and making connections and growing my business with some personality, because what makes us stand out is we're a little bit unique in that we're not techie, right? We are techie, but we don't present ourselves that way. And so people work with us because we're approachable, right? So that's why our branding is so personal with each of us being featured. None of us like it. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, none of us want to be on social media. None of us want to be videoing ourselves working and putting it on Instagram. Like, nobody in the team wants to do that, but we do it because that's what the customer wants.
Yeah, and I was in a marketing session last week that the same feedback was given from the presenter for a national conference who does marketing. And she was saying that photos with a human element in it do 20 to 30% better than other images. So one of the tricks she gave, I'll share with it, even if it's just like a hand coming towards a computer, or like the back of your head looking at a computer. So it doesn't have to be your face. It could be your shoulder, but get yourself in there a little bit. It looks like, Kim, do you have another question?
I do. My Billworth bags has only been started 8 months ago, and I used to have a website before in a previous business, but all these other websites have like Spotify and Etsy. I mean, Facebook, and there's things that I don't even know about out there. Do you feel like you have to have a blueearthbags.com, like a .com website nowadays, or can you do just as well on these other sites and not have a .com website? Because there's a lot of stuff that's come up in the last 10 years that I don't even know about, that I'm learning about. And I thought maybe I could just have this and not have a .com.
Mhm. My recommendation is go where your customers are, right? Again, go back to your customers. If your customers want you on Etsy and that's where they're going to shop for you, then you might want to consider it and do a pro con, like a benefit and cons, because you do have to pay a large commission to Etsy, right? So think about that and think about what your customer wants. So understanding your customer would be my answer.
But they would, if they Googled it and they landed on Etsy or Spotify or somewhere else, it doesn't really matter, right? Because if they Googled it, they would land over there.
Potentially, yes,
Okay.
potentially.
Okay. All right.
So it all depends on what Google decides to bring up based upon what the customer is looking for and your optimization, right? And so my recommendation is think about what your customer wants, create what your customer wants in a way that appeals to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is it, and it's different for every single business, right? But I usually recommend no more than 2 big platforms that you put a lot of focus into, right? Because after that, you can't really become an expert in more than that. Now, certainly grab the different registries, like go grab all your business pages that you can, like Facebook, Instagram, grab those, because that lends to your site authority. The more places you are, the more authority you have as a business. But lead them back to the 1 or 2 platforms that you're really putting your resources into.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer the question?
It does, absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah. So to go into like some of the, I know Kelsey mentioned the photos. So in this photo, you'll see, now this is me. There's a lot in this photo. So I look approachable. I'm holding a phone, right? I'm looking towards the call to action to lead the eye, right? There's a lot going on in this photo that maybe you wouldn't even think about, right? So you'll usually, if you look at really good branded photos, you'll see things like that. And using your photos on your website is incredibly important to tell your story. Please do not put any photos on your website just to have photos on your website. There's no point in it. It slows your website down. It's a poor user experience, right? What Kelsey said is very valid. These are all done, photos are all done very mindfully.
Awesome. Everyone's just saying, thank you. Great presentation, great session, so much knowledge. Someone said, thank you. I can see I'm going to be busy, which like, yes. So this feels overwhelming. Don't worry about it. What, Corey, would you say is one step that everyone should take after today's session? If they only do one thing, what should they?
My suggestion, if you do one thing from today, is to optimize your hero message.
There we go. Awesome.
May I make a suggestion? There's a book that I
may.
recommend pretty consistently, and it's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I recommend that book to pretty much every client I've ever worked with, and that really helps you refine your story and your user journey. And it's like $7.99 on Amazon.
And business advisors have mentioned you mentioning that book in separate meetings that I have been in. So our advisors are reading it, our clients are reading it. I should probably read it.
I think Donald Miller should send me some commission at this point, honestly.
Right? Awesome. Well, we're almost out of time. I don't see any other questions. There was one, I believe Allison was asking about product SEO, but it really comes down to the same concept of building your keywords into everything. But I don't see anything else. So I just will say thank you again to Corey. Thank you all for coming today. We know that business owners are very busy. And so we appreciate you taking some time to be proactive about your website health. If you're not already set up with a business advisor with the main SBDC, we can't recommend it enough. All of our contact information, easy link to sign up for requesting will be in my follow-up email, as well as the slides and all of the links that we've referenced today. All of those resources will be in there, as well as a recording of the session. So if you just enjoyed us so much, you can watch us over and over and over again. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you at the next session.